Coming in, yeah.
Got to wear specs now, Joe. It's depressing. Specs it though. Good afternoon, Squire. How you doing? Good to see you. Not bad. Not bad, you?
Gonna sort me out?
Of course I'm going to sort you out. It's that mate, you're not too bad. Looking pretty sharp. Looking good.
I'm bored. You got to sort it out quickly.
Yeah, I know. That was
Willy Wonka.
That was going to be. I was thinking, if I'm cutting Nicky's hair, how are we going to do this? We'll figure it out. We'll find a way.
Should we do our 20-second interview in there?
Yes, 20 seconds in and out job.
Yeah, definitely.
Going after you, mate.
Thank you, mate.
How you been keeping though?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I'm impressed with this, man. This is really
Thank you,
nice.
mate. Appreciate that.
Not so much this, but this is good.
I know. Joe's really good as well. It's just a nice bonus to have Joe about.
Yeah, definitely. Hello, Joe.
Right. What are we doing then, Nicky?
I'm not too fussy, mate. Look, just get it all off.
All off.
All off.
So
Zero, down to the bone.
Yeah.
And then shape this beard up because I'm starting to look a bit homeless.
Nice. I think it looks good, to be honest.
Do you?
I like it, but then obviously I do have a beard which makes me look slightly homeless.
You've always looked like a bigger Eden Hazard. In my opinion.
Well, do you remember when I had to shave it all off because it all went tits up? So that was I did get a fat head in at that point quite a lot.
I didn't want to say fat.
Mate, it is what it is. Don't worry about it. But yeah, right. Okay. Well, when you say you want to go down to a zero as well, do you want me to use the literally skinny?
Do you know what? I haven't had that, but yeah, let's do it.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it. You want to give me a Stone Cold Steve Austin or something like that?
Let's do it.
You crack on, mate.
All right, then, mate.
The shorter the better for me. It just takes longer to grow back.
That's all right. Okay. Well, for the people that are interested, but I did have a few people say to me, "What are you doing? I want to know more about the barbering because at the minute you're just sitting in a chair and cutting hair and talking football." I'm shaving Nicky's head with a zero on the Wolves seniors, and it's literally you got for people that are interested here. So I'll just show them quickly. I can show you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. You've got a close which takes down to a zero, and that takes it if you open it up to a 0.5.
Yeah.
So actually,
Close
straight
it.
down to a zero. Close it. And you're just shaving Nicky's head, and I'm using the borders.
I always thought that was for cleaning. I never knew that was another size.
No, so it's another size when you do it. But yeah, man. But anyway, let's talk a bit of football now.
Yeah.
West Ham. Obviously, we're recording this the day after the transfer window. What's happened at West Ham this summer then? Anything that I should be interested in? Obviously, I know Emerson went to you.
Yeah.
I saw Paqueta. Obviously, I was at the West Ham game the other day, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I watched him. He looked quite good for the short period he came on. How would you rate your window?
You've got to go for about an 8 or a 9, I think.
Yeah.
We've covered the positions we needed to cover. We've got in, I would have liked one more sort of centre midfielder, but I think for the quality we've got in, I think they've done all right, especially missing out on Europa League last year. See, I was a bit wary when they, get into the semi-final of the Europa League, but sort of faltering in the league a little bit. I was a bit wary about the quality we could have brought in. I would have rather have pulled the trigger in January, but let's be fair, Paqueta's a class signing. There's a lot of people after him.
I wanted him.
I think Skamaka's going to be a superstar as well. We've got people in like Flynn Downs that is just there for cover. Emerson's come in. We needed a left back. Listen, only time will tell how good he will be. But the one that's really impressed me is Carrera from PSG, the centre back.
Oh, Kera.
He's
a good player.
And he's been unbelievable. On paper it looks a bit dodgy. His debut gave away a penalty. On Wednesday he scored an own goal. But from what I've seen of him, mate, I've seen some good players come through, some good defenders. He reminds me of Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty of Kera when I was watching him the other day was he's very, 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 very versatile.
Yeah.
So, and I thought his recovery speed was really good as well.
He's quick.
Yeah.
He swallows everything up despite not being the biggest. He's athletic. What he lacks in height, he makes up for in pace. And I just think he's going to be a really good signing. He's so comfortable on the ball, and that's the way we play. That's the way we play football. You can come out from the back. It's good times for him at West Ham.
It was really interesting because the level of players that he brought in, I always think back to conversations me and you used to have, right? When you first moved to the London Stadium, it was all sort of, you weren't happy with the transfers. You didn't seem like you were really pushing to get into those positions. And obviously, even when David Moyes first arrived, it was, you weren't even sure about him then. It was very sort of like, well, he wasn't good in his first stint. What's going on here? And then all of a sudden, bang, West Ham are a different breed all over again. Like, what is the pull now with West Ham? Because it's just, obviously I know the Premier League football's there, but Paqueta, Scamacca, you know, even Emerson, like these are, I don't think Emerson's top class. Obviously I've watched him for the past few years. I think he's a solid player, but he is a Europa League, like, definitely
Standard
European
player,
football
yeah.
standard player. Like, how was West Ham attracted to this? What do you think has changed over the past sort of 6 months, 2 years maybe?
Consistency.
Yeah?
Yeah, just consistency. Good players, good spine. You know, the likes of Rice and players like that, and you know, the mainstays that are in there. And I just think that, you know, signing people like Zuma, that raises your profile a little bit. Then getting to the Europa League semi-final, people start to notice you a little bit and say, well, you know, they was one stage away from the final last year, come from basically nowhere.
Yeah.
But don't get it wrong. You know, a lot of the, you know, what's gone on in the past has then been down to the board. They haven't wanted to invest. They haven't wanted to put their money in. You know, there was times when, you know, little known transfers that we know about, people like Jamie Vardy were ready to sign for the club and they pulled the plug on it. You know, because they're convinced that they don't want to play for the club. They never wanted to spend the money. At the moment, the way it is now, the price for West Ham, because they can sell now or next year, is as high as it's going to be in a position with the investment they've made. It's an asset protection rather than anything. That's why they put the money in now.
Right.
But I think Moisey deserved it because he's done such a good job with the very few tools he's had. You know, I'm sure he's gone in there and said, look, let's get some money behind this team and let's see where we can go. You know, and someone's pulled the trigger in there, and you know, but then is it just keeping up with the Joneses sort of thing? Because I was listening to it on the thingy after deadline day yesterday. You know, people have spent the most money they've ever spent in the transfer window. You know, even the likes of Nottingham Forest have spent over £100 million.
19 players.
Yeah, I think 13 clubs have spent over £100 million. So, you know, you have to, if you don't go forward, you go backwards in this. You know, you stand still, you go backwards very quickly. And I think we're strengthening for once from a place of a position of strength rather than a position of weakness. I think that's going to be the difference.
Yeah, and I mean, because I thought when you're making these players and all these signings and the money you spent, I've gone, is this like when Declan Rice is going to go? Because I just base this on previous conversations. Look at, there's no way they're just going to spend this money. Like Europa League semi-final, you thought they had money coming there, decent Premier League finish, okay, money coming in there. But then the outlay, I was like, what's going on here? This is interesting.
Yeah.
And West Ham are in a very, very interesting position now, I feel. I think that there's an opportunity here, and it's just a case, like you said, it's keeping up with the Joneses, but I feel like West Ham are now kind of in the position as a club where they can potentially sort of be really pushing that
The thing is,
European spot.
I know a lot of people would, you know, they might laugh at me, especially you being a Chelsea fan, because you had, you know, oodles of success. But when you look at the business model, we've got a 100-year lease on this stadium. We haven't spent anything for it. Yeah. It is a big stadium. It's a big, impressive stadium. Although I don't think it's a football stadium, but
it's not. But you know, it's there.
But it's a big, impressive stadium that they've got a long-term lease on. They're paying barely any rent on that stadium. We're in London. You know, it is a good club to go to if you're a player that can't go to a Chelsea. You know, because apart from them, who's been consistent? Apart from Chelsea, who's been consistent in the top four? Tottenham haven't. Well, they have in the last 10, but before that, no. And you're starting to see a few bigger clubs go there, but Arsenal certainly haven't.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is there's someone there doing something right. You know, convincing. There's someone must be, you know, talking these players in.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a project there. Otherwise, I don't think you'd see the quality of these players signing.
Well, this is it, and it really interests me in terms of where West Ham are going to go next. Because the more I look at West Ham, I'm kind of going, do you know what? Like, David Moyes got something going here. If they continue to build and push, I'm not saying Premier League title contenders, but I think definitely Europa League will kind of become that staple almost.
Well, this is it. We done a video the other day with the boys at We Are Tottenham TV, and I've always said that I've admired the Tottenham model because we haven't got a billionaire sitting in the back, funding these transfers like the likes of Man City or Chelsea have in the past, and the same as Tottenham haven't. But what they done is they made sure they was in that Europa League consistently.
Yeah.
Consistent every season. You get a team like Leicester that would come up from the doldrums, surpass and win the league, but then ultimately drop back down out of the European places. Yeah. Tottenham just stayed there solidly, for years and years and years. And they was waiting for the big boys to fall. And you got someone, and then for them it was Man United and Arsenal. They fell right out of the race, and because they were so consistent, because they was a solid team, because they built that consistent base, they slipped in that top four, and they haven't really looked back since.
Well, this is it. And I feel like
that's the way that clubs like us have to do it.
Yeah.
You just be there consistently.
Exactly, and you've got the stadium for it now. Sort of, I always, again, like when I went the other day, I really noticed it. Sort of, you could never really fill it before, and obviously it wasn't full at the midweek, but there are far more bodies in there than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's slowly building there. And as much as GSB have had their, disuses in the past, at the minute it's going well. But as you said, it's maybe because they're looking to sell. Obviously, there was that Czech investor, wasn't there?
Yeah, he's coming. He's obviously got a hand in what's going on there because he's going to be the long-term people to take over. But yeah, it is what it is, mate. At the end of the day, the likes of, the days when these fans that have made a bit of money taking over clubs is long gone now. It's a billionaire's game.
Absolutely.
And you have to compete with that sort of thing, otherwise you're not competing. Ask the likes of Manchester United. They chuck money at things every year. The club isn't run properly. And that's what you need. You need organisation, and I think we're getting that now.
Yeah, well, this is it, and it's going to be really interesting what happens with West Ham. But having said all of that, I would say let's ask the obvious question about Declan Rice, but I think everyone knows what's going on with that. Next season, he's probably going to be in Chelsea blue. But we'll talk more about him obviously as we go into the match preview. Look, I miss doing transitions like that. It's been fun. Let's talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow, transfer window's closed, so there's no more sort of and ahhing about who might be able to fill in positions. Obviously, we've signed some players on deadline day somehow. Like, blimey, that was touch and go. But what are we looking at for West Ham? How are you feeling about tomorrow?
Quite confident.
Yeah?
Yeah. We don't traditionally go to the bridge and do really well, but we've come up with a couple of shocks in the last sort of 10 years. But how long is it since we actually beat you?
Last year you beat us, didn't you? David Martin was in goal.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we can do it every now and then. I think Chelsea are in a funny position. You know what I mean? A bit like Tottenham, really. Not fantastic, but not bad either. So we're starting to pick up that game now. I know. Listen, I know on our day we can give anyone a game. That's the good thing about West Ham. So you don't go to these places on a wing and a prayer anymore. You go there thinking if we turn up, we can come away with a result here. So you're not in the best of form either. So it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one to call. But yeah, I'm quite confident that we can get something. I'll take a point now. That's for sure.
I mean, I think you're going to come and beat us. I think right now we're in a very, very precarious situation. The way we're playing, I'm just not convinced at all. We were absolute pony against Southampton.
Yeah, I watched it.
But then again, sort of we've been missing certain players in certain positions, and hopefully we'll address that. But obviously, Aubameyang, Zakaria coming in, they're not going to come and hit the ground running straight away, really. But Aubameyang might, 'cause he knows the league. But if Zakaria's got to settle still, and I'm, a guy who's had multiple ACL injuries, never convincing. I think that the whole situation with that game is going to be a very, very, very tight affair, especially after, again, you guys was it Wednesday, wasn't it?
Wednesday.
On Wednesday, watching you play, I was sort of like, okay, well, there's a team here which can hit on the counter. I don't know how Jared Bowen has been linked with anyone. I was watching him, I was like, I'm very, very worried about him. And it is just like West Ham are a scary prospect at the minute. I think also with it being a derby, I think there's going to go one of two ways. Either we're going to turn up and play it with against Spurs, and do quite well, or it's going to be a very, very cagey tight affair.
Yeah.
But you guys are going to edge it, which is what I'm worried about at the minute. I don't think the way we're playing is beneficial for us at the moment. I think we've got a lot of work that we need to be doing.
I can still see it going either way.
Yeah, it's
We've
going
got players that traditionally do well against us. Raheem Sterling always does well against us. And he's obviously playing for you now, so
Yeah, he's been playing well. He's been one of our more consistent performers.
yeah.
Him and Reece, they've both been pretty solid. So we're just gonna have to see what happens really for us. It's I don't know. I think that the whole occasion, I'm worried it's gonna maybe get to the players a little bit more.
Wow. That's a beast.
It is, isn't it? It's a.
You want to tell them what you're using?
So obviously, okay. So we've just gone in with the trimmers just to sort of get it all down. So Joe, do you want to feel Nicky's head? It's just.
I'll take your word for it.
It's like Velcro.
It is at the minute. It's like Velcro. However, on this side of Nicky's head, smooth as a baby's bottom. You know, so that's because I'm using the Andis boulders. That's what I like to call them. Quality. See, people are more. I didn't realise people would be so interested in the barbering side of things.
I've never seen one of them before.
Oh mate, so when you get your hair cut normally, do you normally go zero on top and they just leave it, or they completely bald you?
Just with what you've got there. Then they come through the back of it and tidy it up with a cutthroat. So.
I mean, I can do that if you want to go through a cutthroat, but these actually do a better job.
Yeah.
You know, so cutthroat. A lot of people just use cutthroat for show now, to be honest. But these are like.
I went to buy one and my mum said no.
Mate,
you'll be dead within a week.
People say cutthroats aren't that bad.
No, I know they ain't, mate. But she thinks I'm 7 still. You know.
See, my old man. I use my cutthroat a lot now. But when I first got it out with my mates, so I was cutting their hair. They were like, "Do you want me to use a cutthroat?" And they've gone, "Absolutely not. You're not going near my head with that." I'm like, missing out, boys. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying being a barber now. It's a lot of fun. And if you want to get yourself a haircut with me, make sure you do follow the links in the description and follow the socials that are coming up on screen right now. And you too can get a haircut with Louis Beneventi. Outside of that, Louis 51. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Isn't it, Nicky?
Yeah, mate.
Back to the football though. What lineup am I going to expect to see then for West Ham?
A tough one, this one. I think we'll see the same formation, although sometimes he likes to go 5 at the back, but I think we're still going to see a 4.
Yeah.
So you're going to see Fabianski, which is pretty standard, although I think the other guy, Ariola, is going to be, very, very... He's going to be our number 1 at some point this season, but it won't be this game. Then you'll see Cresswell, standard. Correa, I can't say his name. Kera. Zuma and Sufal, I would imagine.
He looked good. He's underrated.
He's been very, very poor this season, though.
Has he?
The first good game he's had. Then we're going to come in the midfield with the Declan Rice and the Soucek, as we usually do. And then it could be anyone really in the front positions. I would expect Bowen will be playing. I'll be very, very shocked if Paqueta starts.
Really?
I don't think he's going to start this game. The thing is with the Paqueta signing is it would be very harsh on Ben Rama. Ben Rama's been playing superb.
Has he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's been he's been our best player this season by far. He was creative. Didn't have a great game against Spurs.
Oh, so cool. I was like, really?
But yeah, every other game he's been absolutely brilliant, and he's never really been given a consistent run in the side because Moisey just don't seem to like him. But it'd be very harsh for him to drop him because he's been really, really good. But I think he'll go with Ben Rama. I think he'll go with Fornals, and I think he'll stick with Antonio. So pretty much the same lineup as yesterday. But listen, it's all subject to change. I don't know whether Skamaka's going to be fit. Cornet's still sitting on the sidelines, hasn't really gotten an opportunity yet. So yeah, I don't know. That's the one I'm expecting. But we want to see a bit of variety here because we've got players now to change the system. We've got to get Skamaka starting in games and scoring. He keeps on saying he isn't ready for the Premier League. You don't get ready for the Premier League by watching it, you get it by playing in it. So, he has to do something quickly. But listen, these sort of games for us are free hits. You know, like we don't expect anything coming from the bridge. If we get that, it's a bonus. So, you know, go be adventurous. You know, they're not playing that well at the minute, and see what can happen.
This is it, and I think I do worry about Bowen going up against our left backs. So as much as I think Cucurella and Chilwell have looked pretty good so far, I worry that because of how slow we've been on the ball over the past few games, if we're going to be as offensive as I'd like us to be.
Yeah.
And obviously on that, you know, if we're offensive, then got Bowen who's going to run straight back at you. So the way you guys kind of hit on the counter as well, you look pretty solid. I think obviously you're going to have to do that, obviously, because I think obviously we're going to want to have more of the ball.
Yeah.
So if we have more of the ball, you know, obviously you're going to be sitting deeper. You know how to break us down now. Moyes is going to see it. So, you know, I think overall, it's going to be a tight affair, and especially the way that we're sort of moving around at the moment. As much as a free hit, this I think I'm more worried about this game than I was about Spurs, especially with now sort of Tuchel's put himself under a lot of pressure with some of the ways he's been
Not a
conducting
fan
business.
of him, you know.
Not a fan?
Not a fan, no.
Why not?
Tuchel, I just don't like him.
Why?
Just don't like him. I think he's an arsehole.
But why do you think that?
I think he's one of them guys. It comes across. This is. I'm just being honest with you. I'm going from the outside in.
Always
he looks like one of them guys that blames everyone but himself.
Yeah.
You know, a bit like Klopp. It's everyone else and everything else is fault apart from him. And I thought, you know, even though it's a Tottenham manager, I thought what he done to Conte the other day, I thought that was in poor taste. I think it's piss poor, to be honest with you. You just don't do them sort of things. Like, I just think doing things like that, you put more focal on yourself, and when it starts to go wrong, you put yourself under a lot of pressure, especially with this press. You know what they're like.
Yeah, English press aren't.
Yeah,
literally,
they're not forgiving, are they?
It was like 10 minutes after the window closed. Telegraph already did a piece saying, right, Bowley's done his business, over to you now, Thomas.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking hell, it's been 10 minutes, boys. Like, this is intense. I think he did put a lot of pressure on himself because he didn't want Billy Gilmour. And Bowley was so keen to keep hold of him.
Yeah.
And we've sold him for such a low price, like £10 million to Brighton, which, by the way, are a possession-based team, which, by the way, Billy Gilmour thrives in, especially under a manager like Potter, who seems to get the best out of all these young players. You know, we're going to be in a heap of trouble in terms of how we handle our business.
Yeah.
With it, and if he goes and smashes it, and then we're not doing well, Tuchel's put a lot of pressure on himself there just to get all this sort of sorted. So, you know, I think this season will be very interesting for us. I mean, for me, I think a top six finish is realistic. I'm not just feeling your head, by the way. I'm making sure they're
No, it's fine, mate.
making sure it's completely smooth.
What was you doing before then? In the years before, because you never used to be an hairdresser. You were still touching me up.
Loves it. But I think the window is going to be very, very interesting. And now this season, I think for me, it's just a rebuilding phase. We're 4 to 6 weeks behind everybody else because of what happened with the takeover. You know, we've got everything else sort of just done and pushing through. But now it's like, okay, let's just see what happens and rebuild. Like, I think Chelsea aren't going to be the Chelsea that everyone knows for a couple of years.
Yeah. It's tough, isn't it? It's tough. You know, you had the big sanctions there, and it's a lot of pressure for everyone. They've done all right since they come in. They've spent some dough. Most, didn't you?
I mean, we've done really well. You know, we spent a lot of money. I think some of the way we've done our business, I slightly worry about the scattergun approach at the end of the window.
Yeah.
I think it felt very American, and I think again, I was saying this yesterday. You know, American owners who come with a scattergun approach, it doesn't really end well for them usually.
Yeah.
Like you think about Everton and what happened there, and you know, lots of other clubs who have maybe used a scattergun, maybe not even with American owners, with other people as well.
Yeah.
And it's just all gone a little bit tits up. So we just need to make sure that we do everything right and it all goes well and we just build and push forward.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to go one of two ways. We're either going to absolutely smash it and it's going to be sort of really, really easy and we'll do well, we'll stay where we are, everything's kind of good. Nice and smooth now, by the way. Steve Austin, isn't it?
Oh, wow. That is really short. I didn't expect it to be that short, but listen, I'm bald anyway, mate. It just means I don't got to shave it for a little while.
There you go, all sorted now, sort of smooth.
Brilliant.
People can do that on your head.
Not many people get away with that.
What are we doing with the beard, by the way? Do you want to what do you want to bring it down to?
Let's trim it up a little bit. Just give it a little bit of shape, Louis.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
just shape, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I think like the window, it's been very interesting. We're going to either go one or two ways. It's going to go absolutely unbelievable, or we're going to be in a bit of a pickle. So you know, we'll just have to see. I think the whole situation with us at the moment, we just got to see what happens, to be honest. But what are you expecting this season from West Ham then? Where are you thinking you're going to finish?
If I'm honest, I don't care as long as we win the Europa Cup, the Europa Conference League.
That's it. So are you putting yourself in that position? Do you think you're favourites for the competition?
I think, well, before the Europa League clubs drop in, I think you've got to class yourself as one of the favourites at least. You know what I mean? Like getting to the semi-final last year, and even the teams that are in the Europa League itself. You know, we're not going to get the Champions League dropouts. We're going to get the Europa League dropouts. We've proven ourselves against them last season. We can play with the best of them. I'll take anyone. You know what I mean? Like, bring it on.
That's good to hear, because whenever I speak to other West Ham fans about it, they're like, "Oh, we're not too sure." Sort of West Ham being favourites for a European competition feels a bit strange, and they're like, "But surely you want to be in that position as a club, especially with the way that you're going." And like we were talking about earlier, sort of the progression that West Ham's made. It's all very sort of, you know, you should be wanting to put yourself in that position, and it just surprises me when people don't feel that they can do that because of the club's previous history.
That's just the pessimists in us, you know. We're always expecting the worst, always expecting the worst as a fan. But favourites for the competition, get it over the line.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I will be walking around out like we've won the World Cup. Honestly,
You've already done that once.
Well. I didn't want to say anything, but
West Ham winning the World Cup, eh? But I mean, I think that'd be good. Right, here's a question: if West Ham won the Conference League, would there be a parade? Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't fucking win many. You've got to have a parade for something.
Where would the parade
We're not going
go?
to bring the Betway Cup round. Listen, this is how bad we are at cups, right? We have invented a cup called the Betway Cup. And we've played it about 13 times or 10 times or something. We've only won it about twice. And we've made it up.
Oh dear. That does make me giggle. That's quite funny.
That's the West Ham way.
What is the West Ham way? Losing cups that we go to. Oh, fair enough.
At least we admit it, not like the other lot.
Oh, mate, absolutely. But yeah, man. So where would the parade go? This is just me trying to figure out the geography behind it. If you were in there,
it would still go up the old Upton Park route.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
East Downtown Hall, up the Barking Road, down to Upton Park. I don't think it'll go near Stratford.
You don't think we'll go near the stadium?
It probably would go near there eventually, but I think for traditional sake, it has to be the Upton Park route. It has to be.
That would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's just like where it should be.
Although the people that bought the flats that used to be there might have something to say about it when they're trying to get their cars in.
Oh, mate. Living in Wembley, trust me, I'm very used to that now. Whenever there are people, I find it hilarious, right? When we have like events on, and there are people that live around here.
What's going on tomorrow?
Taylor Hawkins concert, so the guy from the Food Fighters. Yeah, I tried to get tickets for that. It's a nightmare.
Well, I had tickets for the original one, so they did offer me, but I didn't get them.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
All right.
Why don't you stop shaving it like that and have a go at that cutthroat?
You sure?
Go on, I trust you.
All right,
I trust you.
Just quickly raise the back for you, sir. There we go, one moment. Oh, right.
Do you get a massage on the head and all that?
You can do. I can do that if you want.
I might fall asleep now.
You are done, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you very much.
There we go.
Good job there.
Yeah? Happy with that?
Yeah, it's only about 6 slices.
Fuck off.
I'm joking, by the way. He's done a good job.
There we go. It's almost like I was trained and seem to know what I'm doing.
Well, you know.
But yeah, man, it's been fun doing all of this sort of stuff. So, okay, let's go straight in then before we wrap up, because I'm going to just obviously whack some stuff on your head. And
Right, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first. Let's get Declan Rice chat out of the way.
yeah, you want to talk about Declan?
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Okay. Is he worth £100 million?
150 million.
150 mil. He's worth it, is he?
Yeah, he's worth it. Of course he's worth it. If Aaron Maguire's worth 80, I think I might well be worth 90. So don't talk to me about... Listen, Declan's he's a top professional. Top professional. And, you know, he's been in our team for 6 years now. Something like that. Just under 6 years, 5 years, something like that. He's been fantastic for us, week in, week out. Never makes the same mistake twice. You can pretty much, you know, rely on your house. He has an handful of bad games. Well, forever. You know what I mean? I couldn't even say an handful of bad games a season. He has 1 or 2 a season, and you know, compared to what bad games really are, he's so worth it. And I know people are going to say, well, you know, of course he's not, and nobody's worth it, and all that. But to us, he is. And if you want him, you're going to have to pay it.
Exactly. Do you think he's going to end up at Chelsea, or is he going to end up at United?
Chelsea would be the obvious place, I would think. You know, growing up a Chelsea fan, being at Chelsea's academy, he's got friends there. He spends a lot of time with the boys there. But you know, I mean this with the greatest of respects. It depends really in what position you are next year, because he wants to win trophies. And if you're not in, I think that if he doesn't feel like you're in a position to win trophies, he won't go. Because Declan is only about the trophies. We offered him a lot of money every week. Could have signed that. Could have signed a long deal and collected them wages. But he doesn't want to do that. He wants to win trophies. I've got a feeling he could end up abroad at some point. I'm not saying this year or next year. I think, you know, progressive-wise, I think he ends up at Chelsea. But just because he's so close to the club, he knows the club. But eventually, if it doesn't quite work out for trophies for him at Chelsea, he will move on again, I think, and he'll go abroad.
I could see that. I think he did like really well in like Italy or something like that.
Yeah, La Liga.
Is he got the technical capacity for La Liga?
Yeah, he has. He's a very technical player. Deceptively technical. He doesn't get to show it a lot with us.
Yeah, and he's grown, hasn't he? Like, you kind of think about what he's done as a player as time's gone on, and he's developed.
He's a really good player. He'd be a perfect foil for anybody, any club. Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, anyone would have him in their midfield. Anybody.
He walks into most Premier League teams. The only team he doesn't walk into is maybe Liverpool, purely because I think the way they play, and City. But everyone else, he walks into that team. Even City, there's a conversation for it between him and Rodri, I feel.
100%. 100%. I honestly, listen, I've been around a lot of years. I've seen a lot of players at West Ham. I've seen some really good talent. You know, I've watched Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, Joe Cole, Michael Carrick all grow up at West Ham. He's better than any of them at that age.
Really?
Yeah. At their ages when they left the club, he surpasses any of them. And Frank Lampard was one of the best players in the world. And honestly, Declan will go on to be one of the best players in the world. No one will admit it until he leaves us, and that's sad for us and sad for him. Because, you know, if he was getting them accolades, I think, you know, I don't think he'd be convinced to stay, but I think he'd be a little bit more content if he was getting them accolades.
Do you think that's like a West Ham trait? So there's a lot of players who've been and come through that club. You mentioned 3 there, who maybe like weren't given that. Do you think it's just a very West Ham thing? Like,
they weren't
don't
at West Ham, no.
What, as in they weren't that good at all?
They weren't world class. Lampard was touch and go. Lampard was a very good player with us. He never really learnt his trade till he got to Chelsea, in my opinion. Ferdinand was the same. Ferdinand was, you know, world class ability, world class potential. Was never world class when he was with us. He didn't learn his stuff till he went to Leeds, and that's playing in the Champions League and things like that. Carrick, I think Carrick was the, you know, the closest to the real deal that they've been. But again, didn't really progress until he got to Man United. I think he was a very underrated player. And there's conversation there that Joe Cole never realised his potential.
No, I agree with that. He wasn't ever. I think he was a very good player, but I don't think he ever was as good as like people make it. For me, he was just someone I enjoyed watching as a kid. But that's a beauty.
Yeah, but he, and Jermaine Defoe as well. You can put him in a conversation. So yeah, it's he is. I think he is proving himself as a world-class player. But as I said, people won't admit it until he goes, and that's a shame for us, really.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at tomorrow. I'm really excited for the game. It'll be good. You're not there, are you?
No, I won't be there.
So I'll have to see who's about to say hello. But come on, before we go, score predictions.
4-0 West Ham.
Well, I'm not going to do one because I never do one, because if I do a score prediction, it usually goes very, very wrong.
No, I'm going to go tight 2-1. 2-1 West Ham.
2-1 West Ham? All right. I think it might be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1.
He never does one. He's done one.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, and if I'm wrong and we end up winning,
feeling that draw, right?
Yeah, feeling a draw. Can't go wrong. But anyway, we are done, mate. How are you feeling about that?
Fresh, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, fresh. I needed that.
Do you want to see the back and the sides, mate?
Please.
Yes, let's quickly have a little look. There you go. Sort of.
There we go. Okay. Fantastic job. Shortest I've ever had it. Fabulous.
Stone Cold Steve Austin in the house. Well, thank you very much for coming in, man. Thank you for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. Coming such a long way as well. Sorry, my hands might have a bit of aftershave balm on it. If people are interested, obviously as well, if people do want stuff, before we go, I do highly recommend that. Parasso is like one of the best aftershave balms. And it smells nice as well, which is always a nice bonus. That's a very good point. Nicky, would you like a freshen up before you go?
Yeah, please. What do you recommend?
What smell do you like?
I like a woody smell.
Woody smell? There you go. What do you think about this?
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, so if people are interested, that's what it is. I do like to invest and get lots of different brands in. It's very nice, got some nice stuff in there. I wish you could smell video sometimes, because this... You're right there, mate.
I've had a shave.
There you go, mate.
Beautiful.
But that's it. Right, where can people find you, mate?
They'll find me on the street, selling me arse, but no. You'll find me at West Ham Fan TV across all social media.
Fantastic. Well, guys, make sure you do head across to West Ham Fan TV, because we will be doing a preview for the game as well. But if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Follow us on the socials, and we'll see you next time. Ta-ra.
Coming in, yeah.